Mediation analysis with latent variables combines confirmatory factor analysis and mediation analysis. We'll see what the single mediator model with latent variables looks like, and given that we have factors in our model, we will have to think of identification for the model. Also, we'll see which parameters are freely estimated in the single mediator model with latent variables. We will see how many degrees of freedom there are when the single mediator model has factors that have 3 indicators each. However, the calculation for the degrees of freedom extends to other mediation models with latent variables as well, of course. We will look at model fit, as well as how we test the significance of the indirect effect in a latent variable model. Here we have an example of a single mediator model where x, m, and y are all latent. Here we're using SEM notation, so our x is actually represented by psi1, and our 2 endogenous variables, the mediator and the outcome, are represented with eta1 and eta2 respectively. So first, let's pay attention to the measurement models for our 3 latent variables. So here, using this notation, we distinguish between the loadings of the exogenous variable, which is x, and the loadings of the endogenous variable, which is y. We could, of course, also simplify this notation and simply exclude the x and the y, in which case our loadings would be labeled lambda 1 through 3 for x, lambda 4 through 6 for m, and lambda 7 through 9 for y. Notice also that we have a variance of our exogenous variable x. However, for the endogenous variables at eta1 and eta2, which represent the mediator and the outcome, we have disturbance variances. So here, if we're thinking of an identification strategy, if we're fixing latent variable variances to 1, this is a little bit trickier done when we have structural paths because our disturbance variance will be fixed to 1 for the mediator and the outcome in lavaan, not the total variance. So we'll opt for the unit loading identification strategy. Now here also, if we look at this table of Greek symbols that we use for our RCM model, we see that theta delta represents the measurement errors of the exogenous variable indicators, whereas theta epsilon represents the measurement error variance for endogenous indicators. So here again, we don't have to distinguish between exogenous and endogenous indicators. We could simply refer to these measurement error variances as theta. We would just have to adopt a notation that allows us to make sure that every indicator has a unique symbol for the measurement error variance. So for example, for the indicators of the exogenous variable, we could have values of theta 1,1, theta 2,2, theta 3,3, and then for indicators of the mediator, we would continue with the numbering, so our symbol will be eta 4,4, and so on. Now finally, our mediation hypothesis is represented by the structural paths that we have between our exogenous variable, the mediator, and the outcome. What used to be our A path in the manifest variable model is now gamma 1,1. What used to be our B path is now B2,1, and what used to be our C prime path is now gamma 2,1. The indirect effect is still computed as the product of the effect of the exogenous variable on the mediator and the path representing the effect of the mediator on the outcome, controlling for the independent variable. So our indirect effect in this model is equal to gamma 1,1 times beta 2,1. Our step number 1 when analyzing this model is to choose an identification strategy for our 3 latent variables. So as we already discussed, it gets a little bit complicated to fix the latent variable variances to 1, at least in lavaan. So for that reason, we'll prefer the unit loading identification strategy. By default, lavaan will set the first indicator loading to 1, and that means that the latent variables will have the scale of their first indicator. Now, something to keep in mind is that our structural paths then might be in a metric that's not immediately intuitive to us. So we could look at the standardized output, but we mainly focus on the significance test for the indirect effect. So we mainly focus on evaluating whether 0 is in the confidence interval for the product gamma 1,1, beta 2,1. Here's our measurement model once we have selected unit loading identification. So for each indicator, we have an intercept, and for all indicators except the first indicator for each latent variable, we're freely estimating a loading, and we have a residual. So here we have 9 equations to represent the measurement model for our single mediator model with latent variables. The first 3 equations are for indicators of the exogenous variable x. The second set of equations is for the latent variable m, and the third set of equations is for the latent variable y. We also have a structural model that's represented in matrix notation here. So eta 1 is the mediator, and here we see that eta 1 is equal to gamma 1,1 times psi 1. So in other words, gamma 1,1 times latent x plus a disturbance. Eta 2, which represents our latent outcome variable, is equal to beta 2,1 times eta 2. So beta 2,1 times the latent mediator plus gamma 2,1 times psi 1, which is gamma 2,1 times our exogenous latent x plus a disturbance zeta 2. With unit loading identification, and if we omit the mean structure because it's not key to our hypothesis, here is the number of unique elements we have in the covariance matrix. The number of unique elements in the covariance matrix is calculated using the number of manifest variables we have in the model. So here we have 9 manifest variables, so the number of unique elements in the covariance matrix of observed variables is equal to 9 times 10 divided by 2. So we have 45 unique elements in the covariance matrix. Now let's count the freely estimated parameters in the model. So we're using unit loading identification, meaning that we're estimating only 2 loadings per latent variable. So that means we have 6 freely estimated loadings. We're estimating a measurement error variance for each indicator in our model, which amounts to 9 measurement error variances. We're estimating 1 latent variable variance and 2 latent variable disturbance variances. In our structural model, we're estimating 3 structural paths: gamma 1,1, beta 2,1, and gamma 2,1. So with 45 unique elements in the covariance matrix, minus 21 freely estimated parameters, we will have 24 degrees of freedom in this model. So that will be the number of degrees of freedom we see for our chi-square test for the model fit. So step 1 when we run this analysis will be to evaluate model fit, and here we're using typical criteria for any structural equation model. So we would like a p-value for our chi-square difference test that's greater than 0.05. If this p-value is below 0.05, we would reject the hypothesis that the model fits well. Our cutoff values for the CFI and the TLI are 0.95 or higher. Our cutoff value for the RMSEA is below 0.05, which would indicate good model fit. And for SRMR, values below 0.08 would indicate good model fit. So this model is like any structural equation model, but the key to answering our research question is testing whether the indirect effect is significantly different from 0. In SEM, we assume that our structural paths have normal sampling distributions. This is parallel to our assumption about regression coefficients in regression analysis. However, when we multiply 2 structural paths in SEM, we run into the same issue that we run into when we multiply 2 regression coefficients. Namely, our indirect effect is the product of 2 normal variates. So as we know, we either need to appropriately accommodate the distribution of the product, or we need to not make any distributional assumptions about the product of gamma 1,1 and beta 2,1. So we could use the distribution of the product confidence limits here, but we can also use the bootstrap, which will be a little bit more straightforward in lavaan, and also it extends easier to more complex models. So let's say we have additional variables in our model, or we have 3-path indirect effects. It will be easier to test simultaneously for all of our indirect effects using the bootstrap with lavaan syntax than to compute distribution of the product confidence intervals for one indirect effect at a time.